is group number 9, and we're going to talk about Steve Jobs. My partners are Baron, Ege, and Simran. Next slide, please. Our agenda for today is introduction, Steve Jobs qualities, Steve Jobs leadership style, the critique, a conclusion, and then we're gonna open for a Q&A section. Next slide, please. I'm gonna talk about the socioeconomic background of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was born in San Francisco, California on February 24, 1955. He was adopted by a lower middle class couple who moved to the suburban city of Mountain a few years later. He grew up in Santa Clara County, which became known as Silicon Valley in the 1950s, after many semiconductor companies established in this area. For this reason, many of the families that live here were electronics engineers. Next slide, please. Now, talking about his academic achievements, Steve Jobs grew up surrounded by these engineers who spent a lot of time in their garages working their new inventions, and this created on him an interest in this field. Years after, Steve Jobs went to Reed College, which was an expensive liberal arts college in Oregon. He spent only one semester at Reed College and then dropped out. After dropping out of Reed College, he remained at Reed and took some calligraphy courses, which he said was one of the courses that helped him create his first computers. Next slide, please. Now, talking about his career achievements, on April the 1st, 1976, Steve Jobs started his company, Apple Computer, with his friend Steven Wozniak, who was also interested in electronics. Together, they created their first computer, Apple I, and 7 years after, they created their second generation computer, Apple II. In 1979, Steve Jobs started working on their new computer named Lisa. This computer included some new features like user interface, mouse, Ethernet, laser printing, and object-oriented programming. Next slide, please. In 1981, he took a small project called Macintosh. This project was the most productive and intense in Steve Jobs' career. In October 1988, he released NextCube, which was a computer that was created only for academic purposes. In 1986, Steve Jobs incorporated a new company called Pixar. At the beginning, the objective of this company was to sell high-end computer graphic workstations for hospitals and the army, but at the end, it became a successful computer animated studio, creating 2 Academy Award movies like Teen Toy and Toy Story. In 1997, Jobs became Apple CEO, and a year later introduced the first iMac, which became the hot seller of Apple computers. From this year on, Steve Jobs made a great transformation in all the products offered by Apple. The objective was to make customers switch to Apple computers. Next slide, please. In 2001, Apple introduced the first iPad, which was able to hold up to 1,000 songs. In 2004, iPad was released, but after that, Steve Jobs realized that this technology could be used for mobile phones. And this is how the iPhone was introduced on January the 9th, 2007. Before Steve Jobs died on October the 5th, 2011, he made sure Apple was able to operate without him. For this, he hired Dean of Yale School of Management to create Apple University to groom future Apple executives by exposing them to the Apple ways. He also consolidated his executive team and agreed with the board that his successor would be Tim Cook. Now, my partner Simran is going to continue with the presentation.
Well, thank you, Dennis. So, as you all know that Steve Jobs have a huge pool of qualities, but the most inspiring qualities, especially the leadership qualities, are toughness and his integrity. So, starting with the toughness, so he had a great, tough and unbreakable willpower that basically led him from a wrecked garage to a multi-million-dollar organization, which is Apple. And the next quality I'm going to discuss is the toughness and rigidity is basically seen in the focus of Steve Jobs as well. So This is basically in order to make his upcoming products exciting and unique. This leadership quality basically made his products more successful among the customers. And he's always strict about his goals to provide quality products and spend his energy on perfecting that product and updating them on a regular basis. Next slide, please. So he was also very tough over the decision making and achieving the perfection. This can be analyzed by a few instances or his regular activities as well as his meeting. As he was tough and strict over his profession approach, like during the design and development of his product, if he is not satisfied with the results, he all of a sudden hit pause button and went back to the drawing board and start developing or designing that particular product again. So the next one is the toughness with the people and the co-workers. Well, this has both the positive as well as negative impact over his professional life. But as per the positive side, he has done this in order to keep all those mediocre people from interfering in his work, and he only involved the A-grade people or the experts with him, and he was more straightforward and usually tell their mistakes in the face, which usually had him to save a lot of time and get the best result out of that. Next slide, please. So the other inspiring leadership quality was integrity. So he was very honest and down to earth, as he always considered himself as a middle class from the city he belonged, and that is the reason what makes him talk in the face and help him to get the best results from the work. This can be basically analyzed from an example that when he was asked by someone that he could be nicer to his co-workers, and to reply them, he answered that, yeah, I can, but maybe it's always better to you have to come at this part if you can. Yeah, next slide. So the other part of his integrity was he always liked to work like a teammate, but not as a boss. And he used to approach his employees for help to develop the new products. For example, they all used to sit down in the same room on the same table with the drawing books to develop the new idea that may have never crossed anyone's mind before. So from these team sessions, Job used to pick the mates that seemed most promising and allocate them as the lead. This is how he usually maintained balance and equality in his team. The last one is embracing the failures. Well, as we all know that he was kicked out of Apple because of his way of dealing with his employees and the way he was running the company, but he never let himself down, and he started a new startup called Next, and soon became the CEO of Pixar as well. Then he was invited back to become the CEO of Apple. So I'm going to pass on my slides to Aggie.
Thank you, Simran. Hello, everyone. In this section, I will try to explain how Jobs' management style is by giving examples. Once Jobs said to himself, he knew that all innovation boils down to his simple act to put two unlikely ideas together to create something new. And also, it's not good taking back seat and watching your workers slave away, conjuring up new ideas by themselves. His idea was to be prepared to get your hands dirty from time to time. He was working all of his creations. So, also in 1997, when Jobs became an Apple interim CEO, the company was producing more than 350 different products. Jobs quickly reduced that number to 10. Why? Apple's new CEO believes that many of these products are obsolete, redundant, and too expensive to justify their production. Steve Jobs believes that Apple would be better off focusing on few ventures instead of hundreds. Apple's odds was drastically streamlined. The truth is, you enjoy what you are doing. It is the only way to work out. In order to grow up your business, you will have to put in a long, exhausting hours. Other times you will face crushing lows and setbacks that would cause you most to turn and run for the hills. Patient, what you do is the only thing that will help you to push through these black times. No amount of money will be enough. It was his last words. Next slide, please. But of his way of management style was the basis of all of this. In his 20s, Jobs was observing the constant problems of they called high-tech products of the time. He was observing the problems in most electronic devices, from phones to MP3 players of the time. Because according to him, the products was lack of creativity, and it was a big problem for him. There is also the alternators of the first Macintosh he made had never been used of any computer before, because in his opinion, this computer making less noise would result in more positive feedback for the user. Jobs didn't take anyone's advice when he made this innovation, because it never done it before, which is another example how he was an autocratic leader. And there is also, in first iPod they made, he was insistent on not listening their teammates and making smallest music player ever played. He was working on the design in such a way that even water wouldn't even get into this iPod. It was true that almost impossible according to the time and according to his teammates. But he didn't listen to anyone and tried hard to realize his idea and succeeded. It can be understood from here that he was someone who was open to change plan during the project. Finally, you may heard that Jobs very rude when confronted with his employees, because he is very determined to do what he wants to do. Thank you, everyone. I will pass the presentation to Baran.
Thank you again. Hello, everyone. My name is Ahmet Baran Çevrim. Today, I want to talk to you about the three criticisms about Steve Jobs that we see in slide. The first of all is narcissists. We can see the pieces of the narcissism in every part of the Steve Jobs' life. For example, when he was fired from the Apple, he gathered everyone on the executive floor and left the company saying that jeans he wore were not suitable there. As another example, Walter Isaacson wrote in his biography that Steve Jobs never followed the speed limit. He says that he always parks in his car and in the disabled parking lot. Steve Jobs believes that rules are designed for ordinary people. This proves that Steve Jobs looks down on the people, works with, and doesn't care. The other criticism issue, unethical opportunism. When he had a medical issue, as an example, in order not to wait in the line for liver transplantation, Steve Jobs bought houses from all states in the USA, established the companies, and got the liver he expected by being written on all state lists. The other example could be when they produced the breakout for Atari company, he gave $350 to Steve Wozniak, whom agreed that they would split the income from the project in half. He's saying that he received only $700 from the Atari company, plus the truth, which paid Steve Jobs $5,000. He laid the groundwork for the Macintosh based on the mouse and graphical interface prototypes he saw at Xerox Resource Center when he visited in 1979. After that, he said, we stole their idea. The other issue is emotional expression. Steve Jobs was too focused on the expression of his own feelings and the thoughts, which didn't allow him to empathize with another. Therefore, he didn't pay attention to whether the intensity and the timing of his behavior was appropriate for situation. For example, the fact that he didn't accept his own doctor for years by declaring that he was barren despite his positive paternity tests. We can give them more example about this issue. Also, when he asking the absurd question about the private lives of the people with whom he had a job interview, or that the employees at Apple were afraid of him because of his anger attacks and often hitting their minds directly on their faces. So, Dennis, I pass the slide to Dennis. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Baron. Now, to conclude our presentation, I'm going to analyze Steve Jobs' greatest achievements. The creation of Apple computers is probably one of his biggest achievements because it was created by him and his friend with little resources and also little academic preparation. The only thing that he had, and probably is the most important thing, is that he found what he loved to do. So this love for Apple computers helped him to have his vision, mission, objectives, and strategy very clear. Another one is going back to Apple. Steve Jobs got fired from Apple due to his hot temper. Although he felt betrayed and sad for this event, he never let these feelings stop him from his dream. It took him 10 years to return to Apple. And this happened after Apple actually bought Next operating system, which became the operating system of the first iMac. This one would be Pixar. Is another success in Steve Jobs' career. Pixar is nowadays the most important computer animated studio, which started as a hardware company that offered computer graphics division. However, Steve Jobs' vision made him turn this company into an animated movie studio and sign an agreement with Disney to create animated movies, producing Academy Award movies such as Toy Story. The other one would be the iPhone. In the journey of creating a small computer that can fit in your hands and carry it around, he ended up creating technology that can be used in telephones. He made people do things that they have never done before and always looking for perfection. Next slide, please. What inspires us? What inspired us about Steve Jobs is that he always followed his dreams and worked for his dreams. He never let anything stop him. There was no impossible things for him. Another one was that he was a leader that led by example. He never backseat and watched his staff members do the entire work. He was the kind of leader that worked together with them. And he said that he liked to get his hands dirty. He liked to share work with them. he was not afraid to think differently. He proposes to think out of the box to go against the status quo. He was totally against social norms. By thinking in this way, we believe that he built what is now Apple. He was not afraid to innovate, although he made mistakes and created products that were a complete failure. But no one remembers, like Lisa, Power Mac G4, Apple III, or Macintosh TV. Like these ones were big failures that nobody remembers. And the thing that he did is that he just continued working and he learned from his mistakes. Next slide, please. Now, how will we emulate this? Probably leading by example. The thing that we think that the best way to lead a team is by being an example. A person that gives orders from his or her seat is not a leader. One of the practices that we will emulate is being a leader in this way, like being a role model. Innovation, by being innovative, is how Steve Jobs put Apple in the position that it is now. Not being afraid of innovating is the key to success. Perseverance is another one. Steve Jobs made many mistakes. Some of his creations didn't work. However, he continued working the next innovation from his mistakes. And the last one would be to follow your dreams. The main motivation he had was his dreams. The dream to see Apple as the most successful company in the world is something that motivated him every day. And the fact that he wanted people to switch from any device to Apple computers. So this is the end of our presentation. Now we're gonna open for a Q&A section.